Alright guys, today we are at the Clay Club event and I'm going to be one of the speakers here. I'm going to be presenting later, so watch me as I speak how my 149 Clay plan landed me a high ticket client. Alright, so I'll see you guys later.
Alright, so on to our next speaker. Let's give a round of applause to Luis Ortega.
Alright, how's it going guys? First of all, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Luis Ortega. I am the founder of Excel Marketing. We are a hybrid cold email agency / we do also cold call based in the Philippines, but all of our clients is in the US. And I also host a podcast called Boys to Gentlemen. That's why I'm wearing a suit. Yeah, so after the technical, very crazy workflow that Joshua have shown, I wanted to go with something simpler. This is more about practicality, things that you could use. And my goal for today is to show you how my 149 Clay plan landed a $4,000 client, which is a simple systematic approach to outbound using Clay. Or in other words, it's basically using Clay without crying over 57 columns you don't understand, in short. Before we start, can I get a raise of hands of people who uses Clay here? Who uses Clay? Okay, remain raising your hand. Can I get a raise of hands who uses Clay for outbound? Can I get a raise of hands who uses Clay for outbound that lives in Quezon City? There we go. We got a few people right here. The reason why I asked you that is that's exactly what I'm doing right here. The idea behind this goal is to show you that the strategy before that usually works with outbound is spray and pray method. You pull up a bunch of lists, upload it into your sending tool, and then you just pray to God that someone would respond and turn into a client, right? But right now, with the power of Clay, you can now go with like a hyper-targeted version, which means instead of doing like a rifle, which shots multiple ammos at a time, you could do a sniper with like pointed outreach with like a hyper-specific version that fits your criteria. And today, we'll go over 3 parts. This is the phase 1, which is the idea behind it. And then the second phase is how I did it. And then the third phase is how you can do it too. This is how I did it. For those of you who likes KPIs numbers, I got some KPIs right here. I am using Email Bison for sending tool, but let's go over the stats first. I've got a total of 1,280 total prospects, 2-step email sequence, meaning we send an email today and then we follow up 3 days later. And then from those 1,280 total prospects, we got 23 replies. 1.8 reply rate. And then we got 10 unsubscribes, 21 bounces, 2 positive replies, 1 booking, and 1 closed deal. What am I trying to point out here? Reply rates doesn't really matter. Reply rates doesn't really matter if nothing converts. The only reason why you're doing outbound is for you to convert it into your goal. What is your goal? Do you want to get more bookings? Do you want to get more demos? I want to get money in the bank. That's why I focus on getting money in the bank, which is 1 closed deal turned into $4,000 client. And then for context, this is $4,000 upfront. It's a $3,000 retainer. We closed it in September, and the industry is in the financial services. So I'm not going to talk about how I retain them because that's another story, which is a fulfillment. You got to retain them. You got to deliver the results. But this is how I got them. Now, this is how I did it. Let's talk about data, enrichment, and messaging. For data, my data is very simple. I do this all the time. It's the most practical way. Go to Apollo, filter it out. If you have existing customers, try to find similar data points. Try to find their keywords, their industries, and then you can filter it out. I don't use Apollo to scrape the leads because it's much expensive. If you want the alternative way, I'm currently using Ample Leads. They are an alternative provider. And then once you export it, do your own thing, verify it. I use Million Verify to verify my leads. And then for enrichment, I use Claygen using OpenAI and API keys using the 4.0 mini. So let's go with messaging. I use the data from Clay as part of the copy, which is what you're going to be really liking because if I didn't have a good copy, the lead wouldn't respond. So all of the things that I've enriched in Clay, first, once I've got the data from Apollo, I will now be asking, are they a B2B company? Just to filter out because I don't want any B2C companies. Usually it doesn't work for cold email. Second, is their company operating in North Carolina, South Carolina, Alabama, Texas, Illinois? Why? Why am I asking this? Because I already got clients there and I wanted to mention as part of the copy, which means if you are in, let's say, California, I can now mention, hey, Joshua, I also got some companies that running AI agents in North Carolina. Would you like to be my client or something? So, third one, this is now going to be the part of enrichments that I added for my messaging. What solution do they provide? Describe it to me in less than 3 words. And you got to be very careful here. You wanted to make sure that you know what you want as an output. So what I want to do here is try to demonstrate the solution you provide to me in less than 3 words in lowercase output because because in lowercase output, I'm gonna place it as part of the copy. And then lastly, give me 1 to 2 industries that they have helped based on their website. So the AI agent will go to their website, try to find similar industries. Do they have case studies? What industries are they in? Now, so the first one to do is just, this is what the Clay table looks like. Now the second part would be the email copy. So this is what the email copy looks like. So the subject line would be very simple. First name, quick question on client growth. And this is the part where I use all of the data I got from Clay as part of the copy. So the first line would be, hey, first name, I know you get a lot of these emails, but I had to reach out on how you're helping industry companies. So it would look something like on how you're helping financial services companies. We're currently helping X, Y, and Z by connecting them with qualified decision makers in the, say for example, they're working in the financial services space, we can mention that, who are actively looking for, let's say you provide SEO solutions all via cold email outreach. What I have established here is that I did my research and I know who the industry that they're targeting in. And another thing that I established here is I will have to mention other companies similar to them that I have already helped. Meaning, if you are an SEO agency, I will mention X, Y, and Z, who is my current client. Of course, you can't lie if they're not your client. So this campaign specifically is tailored for, we call it a lookalike targeting, which means if you got a client that's really doing well, whatever industry it is, just try to find similar companies to those. Whatever works, just duplicate it. Simple. My call to action is, if you're interested, I'd love to send a marketing plan on how we can implement this for your company. And then this is the lead response, quick question on client growth. And then this is the owner who's from New York, not from anywhere of the other states that I've mentioned. And then we book the call. So here's how you can do it too. If I were to give you 3 things that you guys can apply on your own, is first, know who you want to reach out to. This is a very practical example. If you have an existing customer that's really doing good, just find similar companies to those. But for those of you guys who are just starting out, I'll give you some tips. Try to look for a competitor that's really doing well and try to see what their case studies are. For example, I'll mention it here. Let me go to Ericsson's website. What does Ericsson's website look like in terms of case studies? Who has he worked with in the past? Because now, okay, I have known that Ericsson has a case study with like a SaaS company. Then SaaS companies work for outbound. It just makes sense because he's doing cold email for SaaS companies. What you want to do after that is just try to find similar companies to those and then just offer free work. Because now I have the credibility to pitch directly to them to be part of my client because I have already done the work for other companies. It just makes sense. Others are doing it. Why don't you do it? But for those of you who are just starting out and doesn't have any case studies at all, my tip is to try and find a similar company to theirs and just offer free work. Hey, let me run a trial campaign for you. Let me run an outbound, send you leads, judge it afterward. Because now you're eliminating the risk of them purchasing to a person who they don't even know, because you just reach out to them via cold email and now you're selling to them like with like a $3,000 service. Second, use Clay to make personalized email. But what I mean by personalized is that use personalizations that actually matters. A good example Ericsson mentioned earlier is that, hey, I noticed you're from Chicago, go Bulls. It's because you're not really tying it to why you're reaching out to them. If I mention something like, I noticed you're from San Francisco, I've been to the Clay Club event. So I'm trying to tie out the personalization that is relevant to me and to them, trying to make the connection. Then you proceed with a pitch. Lastly, start from qualification, then do your enrichment afterwards, because you don't want to waste any credits or any money with like OpenAI API keys with like enriching data that are disqualified, in short. And then lastly, don't overcomplicate it. With all of the things that I had mentioned here, it's not really something that your brain will explode. I like to keep things simple because simple scales. And when I like to productize things, I try to keep it very simple because I know that if this works for a certain client, it will be very easy to replicate it to other people too. And Clay is a tool to make your life easier, not the other way around. So just remember that. And then lastly, if you want to learn more about cold email, just subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to grow it. I've done some podcasts too with some of other people here. And yeah, so thank you guys for listening.